why does no one teach them what healthy masculinity looks like? She said it like that. And also, I'm wondering, why don't we embrace femininity more? No one even dares to like pink anymore, and we're afraid of showing that we have emotions, and then sometimes we are weaker, and we always need to pretend like we're stronger so that we're treated well in this patriarchal system. And I was like sitting there, like,
It's not about emancipation or the whole Me Too movement or all the things we already had. How do we take that beyond?
I was so astounded. I recently walked into a school. I was invited for a little group where they did our project for 1 year now.
Mhm.
And their teacher, she's an absolutely amazing woman. We've got a great connection. I dearly, dearly like her. And her kids, they do it voluntarily on a Monday afternoon because they like the subject so much. So they wanted me to come over and I sit down with them and we were talking about what would you change about education and what did you like about this year's program, blah blah blah. And then I had this 14-year-old girl sit in front of me and she looks at me and goes, one thing that I would kind of like to see in schools, and I'm saying what the word she used was, I'm looking around to the men around me, teachers, but mostly the boys in my class, and I wonder, why does no one teach them what healthy masculinity looks like? She said it like that. And also, I'm wondering, why don't we embrace femininity more? Because if I look at myself and my friends, no one even dares to like pink anymore, and we're afraid of showing that we have emotions, and then sometimes we are weaker, and we always need to pretend like we're stronger so that we're treated well in this patriarchal system. And I was like sitting there, like, I try to focus on how can I get resources and everything into that curriculum and talk about what they're good and bad at, and she wants that. And then even it was like, I totally agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more, but actually I have no idea how we bring that into, I mean, school is another thing, but also as someone thinking about maybe having kids one day, I think observing how what I would call healthy masculine men and very embracing feminine women, how they live their lives, trying to, of course, embody and model it for them is one way, but I feel like how we're moving as a society, we would also need to make that a little bit more explicit. Maybe,
Hmm.
and I'm wondering how that could work without it being the next I don't want to say like a movement or put it on a paper somewhere, but how can we advocate for that, especially if I'm now in a place where maybe I can do something in education? Because parents will not always do it, especially not the parents that are having kids now.
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's a beautiful question. It's actually my life question because that's what I'm doing. I'm advocating feminine leadership, and that means automatically advocating healthy masculine leadership. And of course, healthy feminine leadership. It's not about emancipation or the whole Me Too movement or all the things we already had. How do we take that beyond? And I've only recently, a couple of weeks ago, held my first keynote in German on that. I posted it on LinkedIn. I don't know if you've seen it. Um, it was a large crowd and a very traditional crowd because it was bankers,
Mm.
200 bankers, not close to 200. And I have to admit, I was incredibly nervous because I thought I'm used to speak about these things, first of all, in English. Second of all, in a consciousness crowd where people are already quite aware,
Mm.
who have all of them know who David Data is, for example.
Yeah.
But I thought if one single man in this whole room has read one of his books, that's probably good
Yeah.
because he's not somebody everybody reads. Yes, he is a best-selling author, but still. How many people are really into that? And so chances are small that people would actually understand what feminine and masculine inner faculties are. So I can tell you how I go about it. And this is as smart as I currently am because I'm not any further. First of all, I make a distinct difference before. So, no, it's almost like so we can have an informed conversation. I, first of all, speak about gender. Gender is an identity thing. We have currently 58 boxes we can check on Facebook who we actually feel we identify with. When I saw that for the first time, I was like starting to look if I find something that's even more me, because I was like, maybe I'm not just woman. Maybe it's, and I've been with women, so I'm already a little bit, how do you say, not binary in that sense.
Yeah.
But eventually I made my choice, and I was still, so because I've been in that scene for a couple of years, and I was very uncomfortable there because I felt everything is about identity and not love. And so I never really wanted anything to do with the gender debate per se, because it just made me so uncomfortable. It felt like it was almost like off topic until I realized, oh, this is not a love discussion. This is an identity discussion.
Oh, I get that so much.
Yeah. And the thing is then, but if you know that, so, okay, this is about identity and it's about valuing it. It's about dignity. It's about language. It's about relatability and understanding each other. It's a beautiful discussion if you look at it as an identity discussion and not as a man, women blaming and throwing all the romance drama into it. So that's the one thing. Look at it from a like gender, frame it as an identity thing. The second thing is biology. We had it earlier. Like the feminine equipment and the masculine equipment are totally different. The nervous systems are different. The brains are wired in a different way. There's so much science on this already. And I find it very good for young people to understand they grow up in this, everything has to be equal. While at the same time, still many of them have mothers who should have been boys because this is what their dad would have liked. I know so many women my age. Oh, there, see, it's still
not me, but my mom.
Yeah, see? So, and that does something to a woman.
Yeah.
Subconsciously and later consciously, you kind of work on that. So you have all this biological stuff going on. It's really good to understand, oh, the feminine nervous system needs other things and regulates differently.
Yeah.
Now that's easy to bring into schools, I find. The gender thing is also easy to bring in. It's already all over the place. And then the third layer, perspective, lens, would be the inner faculties, the feminine and masculine, which is not just one each, but at least from my framework, it's two each, which gives you such a differentiation. And then you can have an informed discussion about it because you can say, okay, this one is gender identity, this one is biology, and this one is inner faculties. And the thing, of course, gets much more complex, but it also gets navigable because you have frameworks for all of this, you have science for all of this, and you can, let's say, reduce it enough that it's very tangible and relatable for any age, basically. And maybe as a last thing that I would like to add there, and then we can take this discussion further if you like to, because it's really curious to me too. What I do with my daughter, she's now 14.
That would have been my question, because I think that's always the most easy for people that have kids. Like, how do you just do it in everyday life?
Well, I've been with her and a dear friend. She's both one of my best friends and a client of mine, and her son. Her son is 9. My daughter is 14. My friend and I are of the same age, unimportant, but still, just to make this comprehensive. And we went, we just took a trip to a public bath. And And the kids didn't know each other at all. And we thought, okay, let's do that. Let's just figure out. It was so boiling hot. So I told her, we're going there anyways. You've never been there. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite places to ever take a bath. It's like an old Roman bath from back then. And you swim in spring water. It's so real. We just let the kids be, and she is as much into feminine masculine as me. Yeah. So we have the same language, we can talk about these things, and I could see how my daughter started to mother him because he's smaller. And I told her at some point, she was just she's always tending to do that with smaller kids. Also because in Montessori schools, you have those many different ages in one group. And that's the whole system, is like the older looks at the younger, etc. And, or looks after the younger. And so I just asked her in a moment where it was just the two of us, I said, do you want to do this? Go with him up there and show him that particular piece that he's asked for. You don't have to, only if you enjoy yourself with this. And that's all she needed. To understand, am I overgiving here? Am I mothering? Or am I curious myself? And she was just like, no, I can do this. It's going to be fun. And that was done. So I kind of immediately took her out of for the sake of the conversation, let's say toxic feminine, the overgiving and the depleting herself and the mothering. And a bit later, when we sat and had French fries, which of course you have to do when you go for a swim. Yeah. The kids were sitting there and he was getting antsy. He wanted to go home. He had some new soccer stickers and he wanted to put them into his album, etc. And he was starting to push for movement, and we were not even done with dessert yet. And her mom because we've never been with our kids together, so I could feel her being a bit uncomfortable that her son starts to be pushy. And I just said to him and said, you talk a lot with your mom about what it means to be a man, don't you? And he was like, well, he was 9 years old. And was like, yes. It was gorgeous. And I said, I think the smartest thing and the most beautiful thing that I see in men when they're grown up is when they have a plan, because you always want to have a plan, don't you? You want to know now exactly when you're leaving, because this is when you want to do that, and then that, and then that. And that's a very masculine thing to do. And he was like, yes. And then I said to him, well, the most beautiful thing a man can do is then include all the other people on the table. What do the others need? And then make a plan for all of us. And you could see the click. And he was looking at his mom, and he was just counting it off on his fingers. You need now this, then you need this, then you need to take a shower, then you need 10 minutes of peace with me not talking, etc. It was really like he knows her really well. It was fantastic. And we all had to laugh. He was very cute at doing this. And I just looked at him and said, wow, well done. I don't know a lot of adult men who know it like that.
I just wanted to say,
yeah. And he was so proud, and it was so simple, with the girl. What I did is making sure that she's checking in with herself, where her boundaries are, so she wouldn't overgive. And with him, I was just I just told him how to, in very simple ways, because it's not that, like, every human being, especially if they're eager and they want to learn, like this girl that you mentioned, they just don't know how.
Yeah.
And just given it, like, he's 9, it was super simple to empower him.
Yeah. That's one beautiful thing I find about kids. I know I always talk exactly about that with the teacher she has. Like, no kid on earth, because teachers always tell us, the kids don't want to learn. She's never met a kid that doesn't want to learn. It's the schools and the system who put them in that kind of gets them away from being open and curious. And
I actually posted about this today on LinkedIn.
I haven't looked at my phone enough yet.
It's just that, we teach children that learning is not fun, but hard and discipline. And then we wonder why they want to stop and be done.
Yeah.
And only if we encourage them again to make this fun. And and have the curiosity and make it adventurous, then
It
every
comes
human
so
being,
natural.
yeah, every human being is naturally curious unless you drill it out of them
Yeah.
with punishment and discipline and making everything about hard toughness, basically.
Yeah, and standardize, of course.
Yeah, of course. Oh, yeah.